Ah, let's see if we go. Okay, we go here. All right, so let me share my screen in Discord as well. Share screen. An editor. I'm gonna just start with sharing just the editors. Okay. So, I wanted to go through just do some basic stuff, basic control stuff. My line of thought at the moment is I don't know if you can see the pad the from the YouTube live stream, but so okay, let's play the game. We know that we need to fix the these steps because at the moment it's a bit messy going around the step. But
yeah, those are the animations are wrong. Oh yeah, I got to change them. That's what I'm doing now.
So apart from that, I'm thinking that so if I look at the pad now, I'm using two fingers. I'm using the left thumb to do the direction, and the right thumb to look around the player. Okay, so from an ergonomics point of view, this is very comfortable. I can just play like this for hours. It's it's a very natural experience. And now my index fingers, naturally they are pointing to the triggers. Okay, so and I think this is a very important. It's a very important matrix. So the index finger are always the natural position for most of the players, unless you're like a super mega pro and you got all of that crazy claw thing, right? But like for 99% of the population, having the actually, I don't know if you can see from the from the camera stream, having the index finger on the trigger is what it's is gonna be resting your hands basically. So I was thinking we should have that you can play a huge part of the game with just these four fingers, and I have some doubts about using any of the face button like quite frequently, especially for the locomotion, because in order to press the face button, like any of the face button, you need to move away from the right thumbstick, okay? And that movement it's is not as natural of the rest position, which is your four fingers like this, okay? So I was thinking, like, can we maximize the amount of stuff that we can do in this position? So in this case, I'm thinking the locomotion needs to be able to do everything with, let's call it the resting position. What do you think about it? Oh, hi, Harry.
Hello.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Because that is one thing I've noticed. Because I haven't been doing the climbing much, but one thing I had noticed, and I think it's one of those things again because I play it so much. My hands, like, I semi-play claw. So like, well, now I've got used to like turning the camera and like holding the A button. But yeah, quite frankly, I found it hard to basically stride or do anything on the face button whilst moving the camera. Like, it was near enough impossible because you had to like do it, move the camera, do it, move the camera. Like it wasn't any kind of continual. Like even when it was on the bumpers, at least it felt a bit more continual because I could still. Basically, it was one of those, I needed my thumbs to be free, like to not require, unless I was doing a direct input that I didn't really want to use the camera. I wanted my thumbs to be free for the movement and then the camera itself. I agree with you, quite frankly. I do think it's quite hard to have something that the character's got to do a lot of on the face button, just because, like you said, like if I'm looking at myself now, I've got my rest position is my index on the triggers, my thumbs on the sticks. So I guess that is from your base position. So if we have any kind of base locomotion form, so it's just done from there, whether that's jumping or like just a climbing. That makes sense.
Yeah, and so
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Based on that assumption, I'm thinking that the right trigger should become, we don't call it parkour mode, but should become also the should become a substitute for the
the advanced thingy,
the advanced thingy.
Advanced for the climbing and stuff. That would I think that feel really good, to be quite frankly. It'd be easy to do as well. Now, so so let's just say we have the climbing for now on the right trigger, hypothetically, which I'm not against at all. I think that would probably feel really nice. I think that's probably the nicest thing that would feel. Where would the jump go?
I think the jump is a bit risky, but I would try to make the jump contextual to the environment. So if I'm here and I press the right trigger, I can make a jump because my trajectory is clean. If I'm here against this wall, okay, and I press the jump, well, first of all, it's stupid because like you're never gonna get anywhere if you jump from here. It's just basically against the wall. So we're gonna do some trace and we say, oh look, we are just standing against the wall. Well, against the surface is very close, and there is a ledge at your sort of like shoulder height. Just that press is not it's not a jump anymore. It's an advanced locomotion input, which is, for example, climb over this wall. And the only slight issue is that for very low ledges like this guy here, like it should really, in this case, we say that it should do automatically, right? But if you jump over that ledge, it should really do a normal jump, right? So
well, it wouldn't even, those step ups wouldn't be involved because basically, like, the advanced locomotion doesn't handle any of the step up cases. So a ledge like that, pressing RT wouldn't trigger anything. Like, so if you jumped on there, if you press RT there to jump, it would jump over and not do any like advanced locomotion stuff anyway.
Yes. So is that
my only thing I'm wondering is that the advanced locomotion on climbing down, I think that might be impacted. Because what if you want to like jump off a ledge, like you're on top of something and you want to jump off?
Like
it might. So like so if you're on top of this and you want to jump off this, it might be like, oh, you can climb down.
Yeah.
The one option we have is, I mean, it's what I'm doing now for the step ups. Is I'm cutting back on that trace, that advanced level, so you have to be a lot closer to do everything.
That
which
is a bit
sort of impacts the blend, But like for the step ups is not too bad because it's a pretty like you're kind of blending in and out from locomotion, so it's okay. For the climb ups is a bit different because you're kind of blending into something that's quite different to whatever you're planning on doing. But I mean, yeah, it's. I mean,
Yeah, if you
I
are
mean, you can
over
still
the
have a
surf,
range. I worry people are going to run to the edge, try and jump, and it's just going to then do
yeah,
a climb down.
because here you should really be able to jump, right?
Jump off this, yeah, and then but it's gonna be like, oh, climb down.
Yeah. So how can we cover that case? Can we do anything about it? What can we do?
So I have an idea. So recently I just switched the like the cat leap button to R1. So like when you originally like I was using X for like the cat leap or the climb up, but that you take your finger off of the view stick, so you can't really do like 180s comfortably. So I swapped it for R1. So now when you jump to cat, you hold R1 and you'll land in cat, and then you can let go to climb up, or you can let go and then jump off the wall to do 180s. And then L1 is like the vault button, and that would kind of solve your up and down problem. Like if you're holding L1 and you press up, you would vault up a wall, but if you were like coming to the edge of a wall and you did L1 and vault, it would like do whatever vault you've selected down the wall. So you could like basically go up and down, but if you were to jump with the trigger, then you would just jump normally. But if you vaulted down the wall, then you would do it downward instead of up something or over.
Yeah, I think that is a good system because so going down, like if you just like most of the times that with the spade that you want to really jump off the wall, but if you really want to climb down the wall or just or doing any other movement, I think using the shoulder button it's acceptable as a, like, let's call it second tier of the movement, because it's not something that it's like it's your second choice, right? So if it's your second choice, then yes, we are allowing the second most comfortable input, I guess, and really the face button, well, all of them, the face buttons, they're gonna be, I think they're gonna be for the very tricky bit. Like if you're a very good player and you wanna do, I don't know, a jump with a flip or whatever, then you need to combine with the face, because that requires really a lot of coordination, and that is what it's gonna separate the good players by the players that they just take they just play for 5 minutes, because one of the main thing that I was trying to do with this version that we need to send to various investors and publishers is I just want to give them the first 5 minutes. I just want to give it the best experience possible, but not only to them, to anyone, right? To any random player that picks up the pad and say, oh yeah, play this game. Like, I just want to be that they feel so comfortable and it's so engaging doing anything for the first 10 minutes. They can get hooked. So I really don't mind if for the first 5 minutes they will not find the climbing down a wall, because probably they're not gonna even going up any walls for the first 5 minutes. So I think we can divide really. I think if we have 3 tiers, like the first one is our resting position, and that needs to be like super mega comfortable and engaging to use. The second tier, I think it's the shoulder buttons, because that is not too bad. I mean, moving your index finger slightly up, yeah, it's it's okay. It's just it's a bit, it's a bit annoying, but you can do it from time to time. And then the third one, you use the face button to really to really do the combo, basically the combo things. I think that is on paper it sounds very very good.
I recently I set the flip to be the X button, so you hold X flip and it works so well because it's just like it's right there and you don't really need to move the camera when you're flipping. Like you've kind of set it where it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then you go for the flip, and then square and circle are the twist. So you have to hold X and circle or square. So it's like that multi-button pressing at the same time.
Oh, you need to press X and square at the same time.
To twist, like to flip and twist.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, so I guess those are like all those combos are like if you're really that good, you can do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just jump around. Yeah.
So I guess for this version, then we can say that we really want to avoid the face buttons at all costs.
Yeah.
And so we can do as much as possible on the triggers, especially that right trigger, and then use the shoulder buttons as modifiers for our second choice, basically, whatever, which is, in this case, climb down or whatever it is. Yeah, that makes sense. It probably would work quite well too.
I think like you look at climb down as just a vault as well. Like whenever you're doing the kind of climb down, it's a choice of what vault you're going to do down the wall. Like you can Kong down, you can step vault down, you can dash down. Like you can do all of the different climb downs that are the same as the vaults that you would do over a wall.
Yeah, but I think those will tie into actual vault inputs though, rather than.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You could just vault down it, and like that would tie into the vault.
Oh yes, so these climb downs aren't vaulty. They're just like general, like how you would climb down if you were just like going up and down things, just in general. Like if you were to like step down something, like sort of like if you were to drop into a hang and then drop off the wall, or just like step off or just jump down something or stuff like that. Just quite like very like basic locomotion, almost like locomotion climb downs rather than actual vaulting climb downs, because I think they'll be encompassed by the flicks in the stick and then the context of what you want to do.
Or
maybe like a modifier with that too. So we could have like you said, like a down modifier. So that if you're holding that and you flick, then it's like a vault downwards or whatever.
Yes, I think I think it's basically the same thing. Yeah.
So for 0.10, so we're saying I'll do it tonight. So move the which is not really different. So move the climb up to the right trigger, and then climb down on the right trigger too. But you need to be having the shoulder button modifier or whatever to be like, I want to climb down.
Yeah, or maybe just the shoulder button, right? Just you don't need to press the right trigger to climb down, or do you? No, actually, because that will actually make a jump, right? Like a normal right trigger with a clean trajectory will make a jump, right? So if you want to avoid that, it's just the R1 or shoulder button, right shoulder, basically,
So
and that's for that.
Right shoulder for the climb down, and then right trigger for climb up.
Yes. So basically, I wouldn't separate it like up and down. I think let's call it first tier and second tier. Like most of the times you want to go up. Like you go only one way to go up, right? But you go a lot of other ways to go down. So I think you can jump down. You can. I don't know.
You can flip.
Yeah, you can fall, exactly. Yeah, you can fall. Yeah. But going up is only once. Yeah, exactly. Just
that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, so yeah,
Okay.
we divided. Yeah, I'm gonna
Okay.
answer some questions from the chat. So let's see. On the chat there is. I usually have middle fingers on trigger. Yeah, so middle fingers on triggers and index fingers on the bumpers. That is very advanced. I mean,
Yeah, that's an advance. Yeah.
yeah, that is where you have it like this, and
Right.
yeah, to me that one is like it's a sort of like maybe not necessarily a pro player, but it's somebody that really is into some really good gaming experience, because that is, I don't think you can hold it for a long time without feel a little bit uncomfortable. So yeah, that is definitely. I mean, you can use that for the secondary movement. If you're using that one, your secondary movement will come very natural because you already got your index finger. I never understood why they didn't put the bumper below the trigger, because like usually the middle finger is always after the index finger, so they should really put the button like after the trigger, because then it becomes very natural to use those two fingers, right? So I don't know, to me it just sounds a very very sensible choice to do, but nobody has ever done it, so there must be a reason. So another question is, would you have remappable controls? I change my mind super frequently about that, and my latest is that I think no, I don't want. I don't know. I just don't want to give the player a chance to mess up. That is the thing. And we know that we're gonna maybe disadvantage some of the super pro players, but I don't know. I just think that they're remapping the controls. It's like if you play skate, right, and you want to do a kick flip, like you cannot remap the kickflip in skate or any other tricks, because that is what has been super mega tailored research and study over like 2-3 years, and that is sort of like the absolute best experience, right? So, and I think we need to go over that route. Like, the cut pass is that flick button, and that's it. It's like that is the best possible that we can see. So I don't think that leaving the player remapping buttons is for this game is very sane. But I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah,
I don't think, yeah, no chance.
There's no way.
Yeah,
I think that's too arcadey again. Like, I think that's like it's one of those where it's like I can change things so I can have faster input, blah blah blah. Like, again, that's like a pro player thing. Where you change crouch from X to whatever and all that stuff. Yeah, I think with those games as well, they don't care. Like, there isn't any sort of what's it called? Concern for like the actual replication of the movement itself onto the stick. So the actual like spatial presence of what you're doing, like the kick flip, or also for even like for the cat pass, so you flick forward, that can represent the dive forward in a cat pass. You know what I mean? Or the kick flip where you flick the angle. That represents the angle at which you're going to flick on the board. You flick off to the edge. So like you said, like, it's actually meant to replicate the movement and like simulate it. Whereas those other games, because mostly shooters that you can remap, they don't care about replicating the movement because you're not really, like, nothing's really replicated.
Yeah.
So because they don't care about replicating the movement, it's like, oh yeah, you can swap buttons around, it doesn't really matter. Whereas like games like Skate or games where the movement being used. Like, there's thought gone into why we put it there. Yeah, no. I don't think it'd be a good idea.
Yeah. And another question was, well, it's not a question, but just a point. Always thought that a button hold and release would feel really good for a jump, would allow you to judge distance, which is exactly what the plan is. So we're gonna move. At the moment, jump is on X, or is the the face button at the bottom. So we're gonna kill that, and we're gonna move the jump on the right trigger. So right trigger, so that axis, so the trigger is an axis, and but it has got two. We can get two parameters for the axis. We can get how far is it pressed, and how long it's been pressed. So with just one axis, we can get two extra parameters. So we can juggle these two values if we need to. So yeah, that is definitely what we can leverage. And I have the feeling that at the end we are not gonna use much of the pressure of the trigger, because that, or maybe that is a super pro move. Okay, let's call it just a pro move. But how can we make it? How can we make at the same time a pro move and having a nice experience for most of the players? I mean, a jump is a very basic thing to do, and I want the jump to be super not easy to do, but super natural. It just needs to feel natural. I always go back to the iPhone example. Like when the iPhone came up, I don't think the iPhone has got a user manual. Like it was like whatever you thought that the phone was gonna, like how the phone is, whether you thought the phone was gonna work, it was exactly how it worked. Like like the pinch zoom, like there's no manual to having a pinch zoom. Like naturally people would just pinch zoom because it just feels natural to try to do it. So there are lots of things that they did that people try to do the most natural thing, and it did exactly that. And it was such a sharp contrast with at the time there were all these Nokia phone which has got like in order to use it you need to do, oh yeah, there is the setting there, you set this thing and you need to press this other key to go back and forth. The iPhone was the first example. They say, I think that, I don't know, to make a call it feels natural to do this, and then it did exactly what you thought. So I just wanted to use a lot of that the same example for our game. Just wherever you feel is natural, it should really do it. And I think the jump should feel the most natural thing ever. I don't know what is the most natural, like what, if you never played the game and you're looking around with, you're going around with this character, the two sticks, the right and left stick, they are a given. Like you look around with the right stick and you go and move with the left. That is sort of like universal, okay? So the way it's playing. But if now you want to jump, what is your first reaction? You never played the game, right? What is your first thing that you would do to jump?
I think it's the face button. That's the normal instinct, but I think that's only because most third-person games, like movement is heavily like forced upon you in that sense.
Yep.
Or like, so there really isn't a game that exists where movement is like the core fundamental aspect of the entire game. So with that, you can just, and like people jump in like, how do I put it? Like they jump expecting the same outcome every time. Like you say, yeah, the first thing you do is press X, and you press X because that's what happens. You just press A, and that's the jump, and that's that. But when you realize that it was good, it's what we talked about yesterday. Like the jump is the fundamental key to like every parkour move. Like it all starts from you, like every vault, climb up. You start from the jump. It's like you skateboarding. You start from the ollie, and then from the ollie you do everything else. So the jump is the most fundamental thing ever. So when you think of it that way, you're like, well, it just can't just be a X. It's like it's so much more than just an X. Like there's so many elements of the jump that we need to consider. So with that, when you think of it that way, then for me, I'd be like, oh, a trigger. I anticipate, because it's like then you look at other games where if I said, okay, play a shooting game, and the most fundamental part of the shooting game is to shoot, what do you think the shoot button is going to be? Oh, you say, oh, trigger. And that just makes sense. Like you'd say, okay, you're playing a shooting game, shoot. And the first thing you do is hit the right trigger or left trigger. That's the very first thing to aim. Right trigger because that's the fundamental aspect. So if I told you this game, or the core aspect of this game is jumping, ignore the fact that every other game uses X to jump. The main thing you're going to do in this game is jump. What do you think you're going to press? And I anticipate most people are like, well, one of the triggers, because it's it's the button that's like, if you had to press any input, the trigger is the one that you're most used to. Like your hands are on it ready.
Yeah.
So it's our core input in that sense, and everything can build from the jump. Like logically, if we have pressed.
That's like everything that I've done. Like everything is based off of like the triggers and how they affect everything, because you're always using one or the other leg, and then like all the vaults play into that, like which leg you jump off of the ground into whatever vault you're gonna like put on a wall, or if you're jumping off of a wall, which step are you using? So like the whole time in my game, it's literally just like a continuation of alternating each trigger to just like get this feeling of like left and right, which is exactly what we do in parkour. But then you also have the variable of like both legs at the same time, which is just like that other part. Like it's always a choice of what leg are you going to use on what obstacle. That's like the entire thing, that mapping out your steps. That's how we do it. And then like picking a different leg creatively is another part of that. So it's hard to like stick all of what jumping is onto one input. So that's why I've split it into like the both. So you have the variable, but I also don't have like a wall pop. So the wall pop is just going to come out of jumping off the ground and then jumping off the wall. So you're just doing different trigger presses, so that, because it's always a jump off of the wall as well. Like you're just stepping there. Sometimes you use your hands, sometimes you don't. So yeah, I totally have built the whole thing out of jumping, because jumping is parkour, like truly.
Yeah.
That's what we said. We were discussing that as well yesterday, and we said like when we initially presented the idea of a parkour mode, everyone hated the idea of having to press something to be in parkour mode.
Yeah.
But we never minded it. We always thought it made sense, because it was a way to to segment or split up the controller states, basically. So you had access to all the controls again, but relative to something else. So you could do all the vaults and stuff like that. But it was always like, oh, it's a parkour game. You shouldn't have to press anything to do parkour. But I was like, but then when we framed it to ourselves in the way of like, yeah, but technically all we're doing is jumping first, basically, or we're signaling a jump first, and then we're doing the parkour move. All of a sudden it makes sense, even though the same thing is happening in terms of like we're holding a button and then we're doing a flick or whatever. But if we frame it as the button that we're holding is our jump button, and then we're doing a flick, it's like saying I want to jump and then jump to cat pass, almost in terms of control. So it's like jump, flick up, that's a cat pass. And you're like, okay, well that makes sense if the trigger is a jump. Even though like the logic isn't too different, but like having the idea that it's all built from the jump just makes it make more sense. And that's why I think people get on board. Like we're not calling it parkour mode anymore, because it's a pretty different.
Yeah.
But it's almost like, it's your jump modifier basically, to be like, you're jumping. and you want to jump, and like if we can get that balance right between jumping, like jumping as and when you want to jump, and jumping yeah, like when you want to do your warp up or whatever like that. If we can get the balance between that right, then it's I think we're laughing.
So, Harry, how do you change speed in your game?
So I'm streaming it right now as well. I put the
Oh,
Discord.
okay. I'm gonna go. I'm actually streaming your game. Well, your clip on Instagram on the so. Yeah, how do you like? You say that you go like you have the two triggers, right? Which are the 2 feet, right? How do you?
Yeah.
Like, do you ever change speed or?
It keeps pretty consistent, but I do have like the L3 sprint button.
Oh,
so like you tap that, and you'll get like a little speed boost. But then the vaults have different speeds that they go over based on like what you're holding down at the same time as the vault key. So the vault key is L1, and then like your right stick works as the vault select, and it will just kind of automatically vault you over the wall if you press the stick at the right time. And then you can hold down like L1 and L2 at the same time to get like half power, and that would the same thing on R2. So, but you're holding it preemptively. So you're holding L1, then you're holding right trigger, and then your right stick is your timing, and you're just timing that at the right time for the vault to play cleanly. And then to get maximum power, you're holding L1, L2, and R2, and then you're getting that good, like a bigger bump, like as big as it gets upward for the vault. And then if you add the sprint to that on top of all of that, you're getting the most height and distance.
And do you like that is how you control like the power, right? Like you have those parameters for the like how long can you or how high can like do you have like different like parameters for how far can you jump and how high can you jump?
No, like it's just it sends I like the jump, the internal like mechanics of jump that they have in the game. I just use that to like get on top of the walls, and then for like getting distance, I'm just adding like a force upward that just kind of
launching the character given.
Yeah, and it's not. It doesn't make a trajectory or anything. It just pushes the character up, and then it lets the original like running speed take it the distance. So if I didn't have any forward input as I did the upward, it would just like kind of Kong up into the air, and you wouldn't go forward. So you're having to hold down forward the whole time to get that the distance of your run speed on the ground, and then the upward of the force added after.
I replied to the comment that say better than the STORROR game. So that is, I don't know if the guy is ever gonna notice it. Yeah, because I'm really interested because I think for me, what I always said about the your dream game is that you solved a lot of issues already, and you probably already went through back and forth a million times. So I always take in high regard the opinion and the solutions of people that went through sort of like the same thing or similar things multiple times and and readjusted constantly in order to find the best solution. And I think that is a super important feedback to have. It's just like, yeah, you came across all this problem, and you tried to solve it like us already multiple times, right? So that is where I think we can get a lot of contribution would be super good in in this sector here.
Yeah, I feel like the controls are like, that's like the main focus is like how it feels is everything, and like I think that's like where this game feels like the most accomplished, is it like feels like you're doing parkour, and it takes that, like it's hard to do, but like it doesn't look real, but it feels good enough, and you can like do what you want. It's very open-ended. It gives you all of the basics of parkour to play with.
Yeah, exactly, and exactly where we want to be. We want to be like that freedom of movement. For me, it's a super important aspect of the game. It's just I just feel that freedom and just being able to, yeah. I'm looking at another clip now, like the creativity of using spaces which they weren't thought to be used that way. I think it's a very powerful, it's a very powerful feeling, like to be able to just do stuff that you never thought it was possible to do.
It's that I always find the hardest thing, and I think that's probably why Skate took so long to get it, is the balance between replicate, like being true to the movement being done, whilst scaling it back to make it not necessarily easier to do, but not too much of a simulation. But it's just that right balance where it can capture what the movement actually is without being, you have to do the exact movement. Like, it doesn't make sense what I'm saying? Like, sort of like it's like the fine line between a simulation game and like an arcade game. It's like smack bang in the middle. It's like, it's not too much too arcadey where you're just button mashing stuff to do stuff or just holding whatever, but then it's not too far on the spectrum on the other end where it's like, I have to use every finger to be able to do one move.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
think so.
smack bang in the middle.
Yeah, it's like
one of the only games I think does it perfectly is Skate. Like, and I think that's why it was so, like, because they found that perfect medium of being like, we can recreate all those flip tricks whilst also whilst also making it so that it is just easy to do still. Like a kickflip, you're never gonna fail it. Like, you'll do a kickflip anytime you want to do a kickflip, but it's also like, it's still paying homage to the kickflip in real life.
Yeah, and I think like Harry was saying, when he design all the system based on what he was doing in real life, because Harry is a very good parkour athlete. So his experience in real life, it's just, of course, like, it drove him to design exactly the way he was thinking. It was the most natural interpretation of how you control your body, but you just have really 4 or 5 fingers. Okay, let's say 6 fingers at most, right? And I think the Skate team, I was like in EA when they were doing Skate. I wasn't in the same team, but I was part of the same group. And one thing, like, and they were a big fan of skating. And I was skating. I was skating. I was pretty good level, and what they got exactly right, it was that I would say this is exactly the same movement that I do with my feet. Like, when I kickflip, I do exactly the movement, and they just replicated perfectly with their hands. And I guess for Harry was sort of like, he was trying to aim exactly at the same experience. What it would feel natural for me to do with my hands that I do with the rest of my body. I think that's a super crucial point. And you don't need to overdo it. You don't need to use the 10 fingers, because it's just, you don't think that much when you're doing a jump, right? It just becomes second nature.
Yeah, I think any more than two, like I don't think in skate any input, no matter what it is, requires more than two. Like any single input to do something requires more than two things pressed at one time. Like two, like fingers being active, if not one. Like I'm trying to think of any move. Like obviously, like discounting the moving your body and turning the camera and whatnot, but like actually the move itself. Other than like a grab, which I guess you hold and then you press something, maybe hold left trigger, right trigger, and then you press. But like the actual vaults and tricks and stuff like that, I think they limit to like two, which like obviously they don't have the issue of having to control the camera whilst they're skating, so that's one thing they save on. But I think because of that, it's like you can not only improve responsiveness and you can do different inputs quickly, but like it might be worthwhile trying to set ourselves a boundary. Like if you have to press like more than two buttons at a given time to do anything, it might be too much. Like if you have to press LB, RT, and flick a stick, or like LT, RT, LB, flick a stick, that might be too much.
Yeah,
too many inputs going on.
Unless you want to do a really crazy shit like
something absolutely. This is something like very on the end of the thing, but like for I think like 90% of what you can do, if we were to limit to two, at very most three.
No, definitely two fingers, right? Like two, like one finger is the, like I think one finger is the knob that take the gamepad for the first 5 minutes. Two fingers is when you play for few hours and you're not very serious about it, you just want to have a good time. I mean, I play skate because I want to, because I play skate because I want to remember that I was good at skating. Even now I'm old and I cannot skate anymore, and I never use more than I never do crazy tricks. I just roam around and basically do ollies and flips and manuals like pretty much forever. So, and I'm that kind of tier player, like tier 2 player, in which I use a little bit of the inputs but nothing crazy. And I think like two fingers with that kind of players, it's okay. And then you go the pro one, which you can use whatever you want because you're mental. So, I think like separating into those tiers, I think it's a very good idea.
Okay, I'll do that now. Okay, I'll do that today then. If what I'll do is step up was actually cutting down the distance to the step up is actually not too bad. It just needs mirroring. Looking at it, and like the only time it's janky is when it has to swap feet to go up. So I think if it was mirrored, it'd actually probably be alright.
Which one?
Just
there's more steps.
I'm just doing step ups, like just like without having to press a button, and it's like I'm reducing the distance in which like it goes in straight from one step. Yeah, like if I show you my screen, hold on.
To me, that's a very weird back and forth. Let me
it's because the animation's too long. It's obviously because the distance trace was meant to be a lot higher, and again, there's only one animation, so the matching is pretty. But like if you look now, again, it's like the only time you get like a weird thing is if it's like on the wrong foot, but it doesn't have the weird. But you have to, because realistically, the automated trace starts at like a meter away. So you have to assume that most of the animations you want to like.
But when you go out, it never goes out. It never keeps the momentum. Like it just really feels very stuttering. You see there, it goes like.
Yeah, but that's the transition to the step down. Because the again, I think I generally think a lot of the issues is coverage, because like the speed at which it exits here like it actually exits into a walk, and then it's going in from a walk. So it exits into a walk, and then what it's then doing is the step down I have active at the moment. Because these, when you actually have this takes in like entry speed and all that. So like it's literally just one animation, so it's always going to look quite janky right now. This starts from a run, so that's why there's that weird stutter, because it's like, and the distance at which this goes down is like it takes like a whole step and 2 steps before it goes down, actually goes down the wall. So here you want it to be like step up, immediately transition to step down, which it does, but because the animations aren't like tied up well enough, because the matching is just off. I think tomorrow main thing I want to do is fill out all these tables here with actual data and then coverage and see how it feels.
So
then
for that one, so if you use phase matching, like you can have as many steps before you want in the animation, right? But we will basically use the start position of the sequence player to determine where the animation will start, which is the same thing as the pose matching, but it's just tailored to the momentum and the steps. In fact, if you use the pose matching node or the multi-pose matching node, that will always, well, not always, but if you have only one cycle and you use the pose matching, it will get you to, it will offset, it will like start the animation at the right time, so you don't have to play that little bit of animation to catch up. But it's better to use the phase match, because the phase matching will, like, you can have I don't know, 10 seconds of steps, right, going before the actual main part of your animation, which is the step up. And the phase matching will say, what is the closest I can get to that cycle before I need it. So if you are very, very far, like if you are like 5 meters far, okay, the phase and you have the animation that covers those 5 minutes, okay, the phase matching will allow to trace back as much as you have, and that will and that is gonna be very good. Like if you look at our trailer in YouTube, there's a classic example there.
I know exactly what you mean.
Here,
I
like,
think,
okay,
I think
like,
once with
there, like here, Toby starts, like, this is like, you know, the body is super, like, it really gets into the position for the double cut pass, okay? So, like, he starts basically, oops, what is it? He starts after the climb to pose match the best thing. The double cut. It starts from here. Here is where he starts like adjusting the body, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. But it's perfect because it goes like, and it does exactly. So basically, here he plays exactly the same animation that Toby did on that day, and the pose matching will give us, if you have this data, and I think we should have, it will just give that nice transition, because otherwise, you know, the classic problem is that you're doing like any cut pass will exactly look the same, because there is no pre movement, which is you know, most of the times it's that particular athlete that moves in a pretty weird way, not weird way, but in a you know, in his own way to get there. So I think we definitely need to use phase matching for that. But if we don't have all those frames available, then pose matching or multiple post matching will actually do it. Yeah, and we need to mirror that. But see, I'm a bit worried about that about using the motion warping for the little steps, because I'm a little bit worried that you cannot keep the momentum like you will keep for. We know that IK gets us a very bad animation,
Yeah.
but it keeps the momentum. Like it keeps like if we
Yeah.
go there, it just oh, it does it. Okay, like there, it just doesn't. It going up. It just it just does it, and it's perfect. But
Yeah.
the filter K is it's not great. But going down, it's yeah, or going up, it's
Yeah, it feels the
I
best,
really
yeah.
think you're gonna struggle trying to make it as flawless as the IK. So yeah, I really I have my doubts that could work. Oh yeah,
I
and
agree.
the we can't go up the ramps anymore as well. Is that because it's trying to go up? Maybe.
Yeah, it's because the automation. I think so today will like move the climbing over. Um, I might the step ups. I might try a slightly different approach, quite frankly, because now they're automated. It kind of changes a lot. Um, because you can't because they're automated. You kind of have to trace from some set distance. So you kind of know a set distance at which it's going to pick up wherever away things are from you. Like I can't just have a constantly scaling trace forward, but like it has to be like
Ah, right.
X amount. You know what I mean, like, because before I could be like trace like the max range, and then if you pick it up anywhere within that range, it's fine. Whereas
Mm,
if it's automated, it's really gonna always pick it up at the same point realistically, and that's whatever the max range is. Um,
right.
realistic the biggest issue because we can take into account the moving in and going into things looking at distance and speed, but it's like you said, it's the coming out that is the issue. It doesn't preserve momentum, um because obviously, cause I think the main issue is because it's warping to a ledge point, like the whereas technically if you're stepping up you might not want to step onto the edge of something if you're moving quickly. Whereas if you see the IK, when it steps up, it could step like half a meter onto the wall, like onto the ledge, onto the surface. Whereas with this one, because you have to find a point, it will step like onto that point. Although, quite frankly, I could just update. I'm gonna have to mess around with it anyway. So
But
I'll mess around with that today.
if you just update the animation but do not change the actual locomotion, like you keep the locomotion as is, right? You keep the capsule moving, but you only update the animation. I mean, I guess that would screw up things because
Yeah, because then it'd have to be in place technically.
yeah,
And it would look like you'd have sliding and stuff. So it has to be some kind of root motion. Um,
yeah. Okay,
and I think I have an idea in terms of being able to update the like actually. I think it's like being able to move the trace point forward about because I think what it is, it picks a point on the ledge, it finds the ledge, and like for something like a climb up, it's okay because you're finding a ledge point and you're climbing up on that point. But for a step up, it works very differently actually because it's like if I'm moving forward and I want to step onto a wall, uh, like it works in an edge case in terms of like if I want to step and the point at which I plant my foot is dead on the edge of the wall, that's when it'll work. But
yeah,
if I'm moving forward and I'm stepping onto something like if I'm moving at speed,
Yeah.
the point at which I plant my foot is not necessarily going to be the edge of the wall. It could
Yeah.
be on the like further on the surface. So I think what it actually needs to be, and I think that comes in the updates. Actually, okay, I think I have an idea of how I could approach that. Um, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. It's quite late. I think I have an idea in terms of updating, like allowing that sync point to move.
Yeah, because I think like it comes really down to the stuff that if it's this obstacle here, okay, we know that the IK is not great, but if it's an obstacle like this, the character should be able to step onto it with the normal locomotion, right? And eventually, we will need to get the motion matching to have the trajectory that is also take into account the Z, so we can match the motion. But you know that is for later. But let's say that anything is below steppable, like anything that you can comfortably do without any effort, I think we should just leave it as normal locomotion. We do the IK, it's slightly off, but you know, it's fine. And if we go over there, you know, that is an obstacle instead that it will require you to actually have at least a little bit of thought, right? So this one is where we can use the step up, right? Because I don't mind that here it will actually, you see, that looked very natural because it will slow it down and then he's gonna step up because you can't
Even
really
then,
do, yeah.
I think you the version you have now, again, it only has one
Yeah,
animation,
yeah,
so
I
it's
know, yeah, yeah. The coverage is and we go no matching, blah blah. But like that animation there, it just feels right, right? It just feels like yeah, okay. Like you know, you need to think about it. And here, does it step up here automatically? Okay, no, this you need to okay, that's good, right? So,
these there
but
you'd actually collect. That's no above waist, yeah.
yeah, so
But that's fine. I'll change the
yeah,
I have like in that context manager the way I set up the class. I have like I give values to like the minimum step up height and the max step up height. So I'll just change them and probably experiment to be honest to see which height kind of feels right.
yeah,
Same with the drop downs. I think if you're running down a surface, if it's like super low, just let the IK and the character drop off.
yeah.
But if you're actually dropping down something so that we don't have a bloop bloop, it makes sense to actually just then do the drop down.
Yes, I think the rule of thumb would be like if if the obstacle shouldn't affect the locomotion, then the algorithm shouldn't intervene on like the locomotion is key. The locomotion is our most beautiful movement that we have currently, right? So if it's given a choice, it should always favor the, let's call it the motion matching, right? The motion matching argument should always be the first choice to go around. But in cases like this, for example, we cannot do things with motion matching. So this needs to be a special case. Spaces like that, again, I don't expect the motion matching should do it. So that no, the thing that it did there is it was completely fine. In fact, I would do it even a little bit earlier than that. So it's but I mean that is the right approach.
It does again. It actually does do it earlier. It's because the animation you have, I haven't adjusted at all. So like,
Okay.
if you actually look at the animation, there's a massive run up from when it starts to when it actually warps. So the way you look, but the trace is really close. So the trace is like a meter away, but the animation runs up to 3 meters away. So you'll have 2 meters in which it doesn't go anywhere and then goes up. If that makes sense.
Okay, so this is like I'm pressing X here, and I know that we don't have coverage, but yeah. So I'll be the specs, yeah.
I think you're because I've not checked in a lot of the changes I've made. This
Yeah.
tomorrow when I get it, we can go through it again. because yeah, like now if you try and step up on that one there, or the one a bit higher.
Yeah, that's what it does there. Yeah.
It's because it blends in and it has about like a 0.6 blend because it's because it has about 2 seconds of run up, and then it goes and then it warps up, and it also doesn't update. And I think I know what to fix that. It doesn't update the sync point forward. I think that's the main thing, to be honest. Like the point, it doesn't move with the momentum. But I think if we let the momentum carry that sync point forward, I think then it might actually work. So,
but it's quite interesting that on the lowest or the low obstacles, it really looks like wrong, but on this one, it just looks fine.
It's because of coverage. Like that height for that animation is just more correct. That's like it happens so much. Like if you get the right height and the right block, it looks perfect. Like if you're at the right speed on the right height, like because this step up was done under something that is of that height.
But
so like because of lack of coverage, it's gonna look off on a lot of these.
But it looks like it's going backward, right? Or it's just an optical illusion.
It's because of, how do I show you here? If you look at my screen, it's because the animation, like if here and this where do I step up? So here, there is this. I've trimmed it down now. Here it's a 0.35. So I'll take in 0.35 off. But if I don't, it has like so it goes 1, 2 step. So the distance it actually travels once I blend in is something like, I think it's like 200 or something. So yeah, so it's like 200. So it's like almost like 2 meters it travels in terms from here to where it actually gets onto the ledge. So, but the trace I do right now is for like 1 meter. So you're like this far away, but it's starting from here. So, and again, that's what I'm saying, because the ledge point doesn't move, like the sync point on the ledge doesn't move at the moment. But if we, for example, let's go back to here.
But why would that change based on the height of the obstacle?
What do you mean? What change?
So if we switch back to my screen, like the difference between this obstacle, like this one is, then I whatever, like 20 centimeters, 30 centimeters, and it does the wrong up and down thing, right? It just looks, it just looks weird. But this one is, it's just 10 centimeters more, taller. But the distance, then, the point is, I'm approaching exactly at the same speed, but it does it super good.
It's because like the mocapped animation was meant to climb something higher, not lower. So it's almost as if your body wants to step onto something higher, but I'm bringing it down, if that makes sense. Whereas this one, the animation trajectory, it actually follows because it plays out the animation trajectory. It just like finishes at the right point. So like if you pick the right like starting speed and height, and the point I want to go to matches really well with animation, then it will look like flawless. But like you said, if there is a height discrepancy, like so it's a lot shorter or a lot higher, you'll get an issue. So here, it wants to step onto something higher, but what it's actually stepping onto is quite low. So it's like the trajectory of the animation wants to go up, but it needs to come down. So that's why the warp makes it look off. But if you had coverage of where it's stepping onto something low, it would look like the other one if you had the right speed and whatnot. And you didn't have so then now if you look at it here, that extra run up, if I go so now in my screen here, we just have the one step and then you're onto the wall. If I play now, it's not as terrible. It doesn't have that weird, you know how before it had the jog step up, now it's just step up. And that doesn't look terrible now.
Okay, and on the way down, like this slightly higher obstacle doesn't do the motion warping, right?
Yeah, because I think I have like a maximum step down.
Yeah, okay.
So it doesn't, if it's beyond a certain point, like it should step. Yeah, I think I have a maximum step down. Because then I want it to be like you could fall off stuff rather than step down things. But I need to actually change that around, maybe adjust those values. But yeah, like with an animation, so already just like getting rid of that initial run up makes it look cleaner. So with an animation that's better, like, I mean, this isn't terribly suited for this, but this looks 10 times better than the one that you're playing with now, just because it's shorter. Like it's cut out that initial run up. And then like it also doesn't have any, like, it's not mirrored, so sometimes it has to swap feet, which just makes it wrong.
Yeah.
But, and again, it's not like for the suited height. So if you get like so this height is pretty much spot on. If realistically, because the ultimate thing is 100, if you get all the animations, like you're 100 meters away from where you want to step up, it'll look right. But I think the main thing is, like you said, the main improvement I want to make tomorrow is carrying momentum over, because I think that's
yeah,
where
that is the
killing
killer. Yeah,
where it will work, because if you see here, same with the drop down and drop off. If you see, the point at which it goes to is it's on the ledge, like on the edge here. Whereas, like, if I'm running,
yeah. You need to go
I
further.
might want to step further onto the thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like I might want to step like onto the middle of the wall. But it might, like, again, I think the blending might also be affected by, because there is literally just one. You're just gonna do the same animation regardless of context. But I think I have an idea to update the sync point to preserve that momentum. I'm gonna have to test out tomorrow.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
probably what, and I'll see how that behaves.
Yeah, but still, I would just keep the very low obstacles. I would just keep it with the normal locomotion, and okay, like the one in front of us right now. I would just keep it. I would just keep it.
Yeah.
Not this one. This one is pretty cool to have things that are going up and down. But can you go? Yeah, like the one on the far there. Yeah, that one. I think you should just go straight over it.
Yeah, just go straight up and down it. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible that much. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because there is that. Is it within the limit of the IK that doesn't look completely awful?
That's alright, but that's just a variable change. That's
yeah.
What I want is, I think if I can, okay. I think tomorrow, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try sort out this momentum thing. Then I need to add more coverage, because then we can actually debug this better.
If you want, I can give you another of my magic tools to basically generate different animation. I have a tool that basically generates an animation from a fabric IK. So and of course, like, because I'm generating, you can, like, it doesn't do it in runtime, and you don't have control over it. We just manually do it. But that, what that could give us is different coverage, like the same animation of that step up. We'll make it like a little bit higher, a little bit lower, but like tailored, so we can have a lot more coverage without necessarily going to have another motion capture session with 20 million steps to go. Oh, now going slightly on the right on that steps.
Slightly higher. Yeah, I get you. 100%.
Yeah, we can get that.
I think let's do this again tomorrow. The same thing. We'll just go through it, play deep, and just like assess the state of it once I've added all the coverage in. and I've seen if this momentum thing work, and then we'll play test to see how it looks.
Do you want to start? I think like tomorrow we can start straight from the. I just want to give you. I really want to give you the phase matching node.
Yeah.
Because I think that will help you. Yeah, like
100%.
immensely.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't think the system will be robust until I have phase matching and mirroring as well. I think they're two really important keys, like steps, elements of it.
Because
but I think
don't start adding coverage if we like just use this one, right? And then we do it with the phase matching and mirroring, because maybe we notice that we need to add I don't know, extra parameters or something like that. So just let's do first thing. Let's just fix the mirroring and the phase matching and the. To be honest, we could even look at doing runtime mirroring for this. Let's do it tomorrow. But just do this one first. Yeah. First.
Because I mean, in that sense, I need to adjust these animations anyway. But actually, no, because if it's phase matching, then that's not. Then that'll solve itself. Okay, there. Yeah. Okay, let's do let's tomorrow. Let's smash out the phase matching first thing then.
And by tomorrow we mean in a couple of hours, so just for the stream.
Yeah. So if we could do that tomorrow, and then once we've done that, because I want to have these take off in the next few days, even if it means we will change them again just for 0.10, just so we can start to feel out different gameplay systems and start to feel out controls and flesh things out.
So I'm gonna put the jump back in back on the right trigger. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do tonight. I'm just gonna put the jump there, and that code that is just on your screen, that screams template all over the place, right? By the looks of it, it really feels like we should templatize that. Oh, parameterize.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, but
it's good. These parameters are all different, like depending. This is the one issue with because the motion warping points, they actually take different. Like this here, I could just pass. It's just the same code. Like here, this doesn't need to be. But yeah, it changes like the actual point at which like different mobile points need different values. So there's this function here handles all the different one. It's not necessarily like a type, it's just values that path parameterize these values, which I did so I created this function here to like create a motion warp for a given location and blah 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 blah. But this is again one of the issues with motion warping is like you need a ton of different points and you like initialize them each time, based on whenever you're doing it. To be able to update your sync points. But yeah, let me have a look tonight at I'm gonna have a look tonight at the momentum thing. It's just
that is super important. Yes.
Yeah. And I'll let you know in the morning. And then we can do the phase matching and go from there.
Nice. Okay, then I think we can we talk a lot, and we can end the stream here. And it was a super good chat. Oh, hi Raj, I see you lurking in the chat. So shall we get on with our lives? Let's do it.
Have a good night.
See you later, Ari. See you later, Raj. I'm gonna catch you later, and we're gonna see you later stream. Gonna catch